Cool, ready to go.
Kia ora koutou, welcome along everybody to this joint meeting today. Just a heads up first that this meeting is being live streamed, so just be wary that everything you say will be recorded and put on YouTube. First up, we will start with our karakia, so I'll ask everybody to stand.
Kia ma tara tara ki tai, e hahia ana te atagura, he tio he huka, he hauhunga, te he maura.
And also we do have 3 people joining us online today. We've got Jake and John and Linda. So they are here, even though you can't see them at the moment. First item on the agenda is apologies. We have apologies from James, Sam McDonald and Suresh Paranjapi. Do we have a mover and a seconder for those? David and Victoria. Put that motion. All those in favour?
Aye.
That's carried. Second is declarations of interest. Haven't heard of any, but if something does come up, then let us know. And we'll move on to item 3, deputations by appointment. So we've got 4 people speaking to us today. Just a reminder that you each have 10 minutes, and that includes time for questions. First up, we have Fiona. Welcome along.
Tēnā koutou katoa. Thanks for having me along today. I take my submission as read, and so this is additional to that. So I'd like you to please talk with ECAN about rerouting one of the buses that go down Herwood Road, for example, the Orbiter, or lesser known, the 125 or the 27. I think it's highly likely that people are going to want to drive to all the shops and not think about alternative options of getting there. And we want to get people out of cars. We need to provide a closer bus and closer bus stops, because people won't walk 50 metres to Herwood Road. Please reconsider option 4C, the left in only to Reynolds Ave, as the best way to compromise between the people who want access and the people who want to just cut through it. It was actually surprising reading the results that the people who live there didn't want a cul-de-sac. I thought that they would want a quieter street with less people on it, but they just want to get in and out of their houses. So compromising may be the better option, as was outlined in the staff report. In the executive summary, page 5. There's a real danger of left out manoeuvres from Reynolds, then trying to get across to turn right from Greers into Langdons Road. And I really don't want that to be an option. So the left in, left out is dangerous, and we should avoid it. Staff recommendation 18 refers. The shared path on Greers Road, opposite Langdons Road. Can this please be extended to the intersection with Reynolds Ave and along Reynolds Ave a little bit, so that people can get from their bikes safely around that bend and avoid the whole car interface in that intersection. It starts far too far from the Reynolds Ave intersection as it's currently proposed, but of course I want to change that anyway. Please include a centre line on the shared paths on either side as you're going around the bend from Langdons into Greers Road. Every time there's a right-hand or left-hand bend, people are notorious for being on the wrong side. They don't keep left, they don't do sensible things, they just want to take the shortest path. Those centre lines that are marked and shared paths across the city are very successful when people follow them. A bit more education, some keep left signage, and a centre line makes a big difference. Please add a repeater speed limit signs along Langdons Road and the red paint threshold for the 30k threshold. Most drivers are either unaware of the speed limit or blatantly ignoring it. I appreciate this is a difficult redesign, as Langdons Road has a business park with large vehicles accessing it, multiple shopping centres and other retail and community facilities. The nearby schools, preschool and nurseries, aged care facilities are also a factor. Please take a wider look at the travel patterns and how to make the wider area safer for all road users, thinking outside the box a bit more and not just looking at cars. I'm happy to take questions.
Thanks, Fiona. Do you have any questions? No? Summed it up well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up, we have Ulrich. Ulrich here. It's on Zoom. Can you hear us?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you for linking me in via Zoom. I was unable to join in person today. My background is pretty much in engineering. I use the road every day to go to work and back. So this is Greers Road. And what I want to speak to is, first of all, I want to acknowledge the issue. There's high traffic on Greers Road, and it often leads to traffic jams, and there's the issue of the intersection that needs to be addressed into Langdons Road. I also want to acknowledge that there is a ratepayer issue here, because at the end of the day, any investment done will need to be funded by the ratepayers, and the rates are already quite high enough. So I personally didn't select any of the options because I believe none of the options actually look at the bigger issue. And the bigger issue is that at the moment it appears that in Christchurch, all the traffic issues that have to do with changing roads or intersections are being addressed with traffic lights. However, if you look into things like theory of constraints and flow management, you will realize that any additional traffic light will lead to additional problems. It will lead to traffic jams. It will lead to drivers actually ignoring because they are annoyed by being blocked in traffic. It will lead to dangerous behavior. And in this instance, what I'm particularly concerned about, the distance between Harewood Road and Greers Road intersection to the proposed Langdons Greers is about 250 to 270 meters, which means you will very likely see situations that these two traffic lights between Greers, Harewood and Langdons will actually lead to complete blockage of traffic. This is known when you do flow management, either in manufacturing or elsewhere, like in airports. And it is not easily addressed. I personally see only two options. Option number one, which is the cheaper one, is access into Langdons Road would only be possible for westbound traffic. Is that right? Westbound. So if you come from Queen Elizabeth, you can go into Langdons. If you go out of Langdons, you can only go towards Harewood. And equally into Reynolds, it's only for eastbound traffic. So that would make a traffic installation much, much easier, because you only need to be concerned about traffic going into and out of Langdons, and would also not create an issue with flow management. The second option, which is by far the more expensive one, is if we would finally invest in some flow management in Christchurch, where you actually start synchronizing in the appropriate way the intersections that are adjoining. So you start, rather than managing the intersection as such, you start managing corridors. So you manage the corridors, Greers Road, Northcote and Harewood, and allow traffic to flow rather than jam each other up like we see in Blenheim Road and in so many other places in Christchurch. That is effectively what I want to highlight. I don't know whether you have a solution or can accommodate a solution that also addresses all the other issues, but I'm happy to take questions.
Thank you, Ulrich. We can certainly ask staff their opinion on your suggestion, and we will do that. Do we have any questions? Bridget?
Yeah, thank you so much for your presentation. I appreciate that both options you're not 100% satisfied with, but if you had to choose between one or the other, what would be your preference?
I would take the cheaper option, the one with managing, with only allowing certain way to turn.
Yeah, you can left out. Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. That's my question.
Okay.
Any other questions? No? Right, thank you very much for your presentation.
You're welcome.
Yeah. All right, next up we have Anne Scott, who's going to speak on behalf of Spokes Canterbury. Welcome along, Anne.
I'll just wait for the presentation to come up. Kia ora koutou. My name's Anne Scott and I'm the Spokes Submissions Coordinator. So I'm here presenting on behalf of Spokes. Next, please. So this is looking from Langdons Road into Greers Road. It's a nice quiet night because when I first went there, it was so busy you couldn't actually see the intersection because it was covered in cars. So I had to go back. But there is a real demand and a real safety issue at this intersection. So I think that we have to have lights and some sort of option here. If we do have lights, we're going to find that there is more traffic using this because there's actually a lot of traffic going on other roads that lead up to Harewood Road from the shopping centre. Next slide, please. So Spokes' preference is for option 2. It's the safest and it's the most equitable solution. And the reason that it's most equitable is because you're not forcing less confident cyclists and pedestrians to do 2 road crossings to get to the other side of the road. This is the option that actually has the 3-way going. So this actually allows those with all ages and abilities to actually and are using active transport to use this area. And everybody is a walker in some way, shape, or form. And there is a little way of getting across the road just down from just towards the school on Greers Road. And you can literally not get across it at some times. There is so much traffic. You have to wait for a car to actually stop and let you through. There are options here for confident cyclists to use the road, and there's options for more vulnerable, slower and less confident cyclists to share the path, including children going to Bishopdale School. I used to cycle through here quite a lot, and if you stand on that the sort of north-east corner, you'll see all of the scooters coming along and from Reynolds Road and going around that corner and going towards Bishopdale School in the morning, a whole stream of them. And also school cyclists as well. Next slide, please. If you have a look at that red car, it's just about in the perfect position where the intersection is going to be stopped. And you can see there is very little space for a left turn out there. Just think about that while you're seeing the next slide. Next slide, please. So option 1 is less safe for cyclists and for pedestrians. Pedestrians, and again, they have 2 crossings that they have to do, which really is unacceptable in 2023. Turning left from Reynolds into Greers Road, vehicles will edge out into the cycle lane to ensure they get a turn and to ensure they can see properly. So essentially any cyclist that's going straight down Greers Road is going to have to give way to those vehicles. And they may well sit there for quite some time until someone stops and lets them in. It's actually dangerous when someone stops and lets them in because neither the vehicle that's actually stopping and letting someone in, nor the vehicle that's going to turn into that space actually looks again to see if there's a cyclist there. Turning left in Reynolds Road from Greers Road is also problematic because what happens is that the car comes along at speed to do the turn and then turns in front of any cyclist to get through. And that's because they've got to clear the road in time because they've got the pressure of the cars behind them. Also, you need a way there to stop illegal right-hand turns into Reynolds Ave because you could actually still do it with this design. Next slide, please. So there are some other issues here. Can I go to the next slide, please, first, and then I'll come back to this one. Okay, this is looking down the road from the Bishopdale School. Okay, and you can see there is normally the traffic, if it's a school day, the traffic is completely banked up there, and there are cars pulling into those places. So actually having school children on the road, cycling on the road, is actually dangerous on this road. So what they're doing is they're biking down the footpath, but you see the footpath is actually quite narrow. And what we really need is we need an extension of that shared pathway down to the school. It's about 300 metres, 400 metres. Because this is a main road and people travel down this road really fast. Please go back to the next slide. So extending the path for Bishopdale children to Greers Road, stopping illegal turns on Reynolds Road with something like flexi paths, widening the footpath on the north side of Langdon's Road, slow the traffic a wee bit, turning into Langdon's Road would also be advantageous, and calming on Bayton Street, because what's going to happen is that when Reynolds Road is more constrained, people are going to start turning into Bayton Street instead. And there are quite a few cyclists who, seeing we don't have the Harewood Road cycleway, they're coming down here, they're going into Reynolds Road, they're going down to a little alleyway that's just halfway down Reynolds Road, cutting through that, going into Bayton Street, and then cutting across to the petrol station, going across the road at the walking thing, getting across into Bishopdale Mall. It's the only safest way to actually do it now, because a less confident cyclist cannot negotiate the Harewood Road corner in any way. So thank you very much for listening to me, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Anne. Aaron.
So you pointed out something really good there, that on your preferred option, it had the three-way pedestrian crossing.
Yes.
But on the left in, left out of Reynolds Ave, it didn't.
No.
If that was to get support, would you prefer that the three-way crossing was?
Yes. I think the three-way crossing is really important.
Because people are lazy, they don't want to go there and there. They'll just cut straight across without the crossing. They'll just run between the cars.
Well,
they just like.
A month ago, I hurt my knee. I couldn't run between the cars if I tried. So, it's actually, if you're thinking if an older person who or someone who's less mobile, why make them walk two legs and wait for the traffic? It's much safer if they can go straight across.
Well, they're more likely to walk. A younger person's more likely to take the most direct route without support. Or
a cyclist, a cyclist going to Bishopdale School may try to do that right-hand turn on their own, rather than listening to mum and saying, get off and take your bike across and then get on.
Now, one other question, if I may, is on your straight through, so going east on Greers.
Yes.
Yeah, so you're going straight through. If there's traffic lights, and I'll check with the staff, a cyclist has to stop if they're on the road?
Yes.
So then if we put in the little plastic bollards, they'll be allowed to just carry on, wouldn't they? Why not?
No.
They can't conflict with anything.
If you're talking about putting bollards across the whole intersection.
Yeah, where the cycle lane is on that side.
Oh, well, I'm not a traffic engineer, but I have a funny feeling that you have to be off the road
to go through.
Yeah.
Question for staff.
Yeah, I think that's a question for staff. You need to ask them. Where I would put the bollards is in the middle of the road. See where you've got the straight through and the turn in the middle of the road. Or some sort of way of actually stopping traffic turning and trying to turn into that left-in lane.
Yeah. Okay.
but I think really what you want, the less confident cyclists, you want to get them up onto the footpath and then join further down.
But you see what I mean on that side, like where you got the green paint, that would just carry through, because there's a number of cyclists don't like stopping anyway. So why make them if it's unnecessary? Yeah,
but you see that you'd have to put those bollards all the way through the intersection. Otherwise, what they're doing is illegal. Pretty sure. But our staff.
Bridget.
Thank you, Anne, for your presentation. I just want to ask appreciate your preferred option is option 2.
Yes.
But as it currently is, this intersection, would you say that option 1 has created safer measures for cyclists compared to what it is currently?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, it has. But you know, there's the safety and the safety.
I understand. Yeah.
It would be a big compromise to do that.
To do nothing, hypothetically.
To do nothing. If I'm thinking about it in a holistic way, with all people in mind, you know, including pedestrians and people on scooters and things like that, this is much safer because of the lights.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the lights are a big part to the safety piece.
Lights are a big part to the safety piece, and the ability to cross on the south side. But I still don't like it.
Thanks, Anne.
I'm not going to say I'll take that as a compromise.
I've got a quick question before we finish up. Have you seen the report that's in our agenda today?
Yes.
The option, I think it's called option 4C, that's got just left into Reynolds.
Yes.
And no exit out of Reynolds. Would that allay some of your concerns?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it would. I mean, it's not ideal, but it's not as it does help. It would help. It's not the ideal solution is a cul-de-sac. Yes. But left-hand turn in is certainly a lot better than left in, left out in terms of safety, because it still allows the space for the other option.
Any other questions for Anne? No? Thank you very much. And finally, we have Sharish. Welcome along, Sharish. I know that you know how this works.
Done it for a while. I have some printouts with Aidan, maybe not enough for each one of you. So, kia ora, ahi Marie, and thank you for this opportunity for me to make this submission. I'm doing this as a member of the public because when the Have Your Say came, I thought it's another board, so I submitted as a public member, which I still am. I am a chartered engineer by profession who has skills for observations and analysis. I have personally used this intersection for over 20 years during the development of Northland Small in early 2000 and more recently Northlink. I don't agree with any of the options used for consultation. Why? The proposed options are over-the-top solutions for a relatively simple problem. To solve a relatively simple problem, options have created other problems, which is reflected in how divided the community is. All the disagreement is about other aspects. Everyone agrees that something needs to be done with the intersection. The option costs $2.58 million. It's not small change. I think one of the options which is on page 145 of PDS should be 4C. I think 4C has been missed and something else has been repeated. That's fine, doesn't change the concept. You all know that Christchurch ratepayers are faced with hefty rate rises. Over-the-top solutions like these are a contributor. So what the problem is? The problem is from right turn from Langtons to Greers, heading north, is difficult. That's it. This is the only real problem. Hence, the solution should be small and simple to address this problem. Of course, the traffic which is heading north on Greers wanting to turn right on Langtons has to cross the southbound Greers traffic. But there is a flush median and there are enough gaps in the southbound traffic for the traffic wanting to turn right to turn safely. One has to wait no more than other controlled or uncontrolled intersections or roundabouts, even at peak times. So that's not the problem. It's the Langtons to Greers, which is the problem. The other problem, which was originally option 4A, was not considered by staff due to poor outcomes in several areas. I have tried to read the document. I have not understood what those poor outcomes are. The report is silent on that. If I read table 17 on page 122, option 4A, which did not go for consultation, it actually gets all the ticks except the aspect of Greer's capacity. I have a clear suggestion to overcome this negative aspect too. If it was my money, and I don't have 2.5 million, but if it was my money, what would I do? Install traffic light and Langdon intersection, but keep it simple. 2 signaling phases only. When it is green for Greer's, it is red for Langdon's. When it is green for Langdon's to turn right into Greer's heading north, red for Greer's. Now, just south of this intersection, we have the Harewood-Greer's intersection. So when the traffic is going east-west on Harewood, that's when the traffic from Langdon's can turn north. And when Greer's get green on that Harewood intersection, as the traffic comes to Langdon's, it will get green. So that can be achieved very easily by phasing by our engineers. Keep the free left from Langdon's to Greer's controlled only by the stop sign, painted sign, not lights. That is maintain status quo. I know it is tight, but the traffic can still go. They have to slow down and pass easily. No green right or red right arrow for people who are wanting to turn right from Greer's to Langdon's. Only the main green light and allowing the right turning traffic to do so in what is called as the porous green. We have such signals at several places in the city. The one I use every day is Memorial Greer's. So where you have no specific right, no red right, you just turn when it is safe to do so. I'm thinking a traffic light installation similar to one in Vigram, where Corsair Drive coming out from Vigram meets Springs. It's very simple, works, no complication. Make no other changes to any other roads or infrastructures. Don't solve non-existing problems to create more. What's the benefit of my suggestion? It solves the problem without creating others. It will surely be cheaper than the proposed option. The best aspect is if we go with this, it can be used for further options. So in a few years' time, if we want to explore other options which have gone for consultation, this option lends itself to do that. It can be used as a trial. We have had trials at other intersections. It gives time for observation over the next few months and years. No other changes are needed for adjoining streets, and hence happy undivided community. You see how it is split over those two choices. In my opinion, it is the best cost-benefit ratio. Option 4A as per my thing. The option presented by staff were without any cost implications as far as I remember. And as you can see, the community is divided on the way forward with the agreement that something needs to be done. If we proceed with the current option, we'll be spending a lot of ratepayers' money and make many residents unhappy. Therefore, I request this combined board to request staff to reconsider the so-called option 4A using my suggestion above. Thank you for this opportunity to present this. Nahami Mihinoi.
Thank you, Suresh. Questions? Aaron and Simon.
So pedestrians, where do they fit in this mix? Was it in the spokes presentation was highlighted about, especially more vulnerable users? How does that fit in? So you want 6 cars. Pedestrians
wanting to cross from one side of Greer's to other, when Greer's is stopped red so that Langdon's can turn, that's when pedestrians cross from one road to the other.
So it would have a signalised pedestrian crossing.
The stop aspect of Langdon's, if there is the pedestrian, he can use that. He may have to command that using the pedestrian crossing. It depends on different lights in the city. Sometimes you have to command so that the pedestrian green comes on, and sometimes it happens automatically when that phase has turned red.
Right.
Simon?
Thank you. Option 4A with your modifications lists full turn movements available at Reynolds Ave, I think.
Yes, so I'm not suggesting any changes to any other streets.
And how would you anticipate that movements in and out of Reynolds Ave might interact with Greers Road, particularly when Greers Road has got a red light? Do you have any concerns about that?
Well, the Greers Road at Langdon should have a red light for a very short time. Most of the time it will be green for both north and south. And it will be red only when Harewood is going east-west. So Greers traffic is stopped south of those lights. And when it gets green, it will keep going. So and I'm sure our traffic engineers and the automation people can do that, when they turn green, we have so many streets where they turn green in that sequence, you keep going. So I don't have a concern as long as the phasing can be achieved, which I don't see should be a problem.
Just to follow up your response to Aaron's question about when the pedestrians would cross. If you're saying they'd cross when Greers Road is stopped, then that's when you've got right turns coming out of.
Yes, so it'd
have to be a whole separate phase just for the pedestrians.
They cross on the south of the Langdon's Greer intersection, not north.
Okay, so they'd only be on one side.
Right.
Can I just check on that? So that's where you're expecting there to be a slip to the left coming out of Langdon's into Greers. And that's where you're saying the crossing point should be.
Which is already there. There is already a left turn from Langdon's to Greers, controlled by a stop painted sign.
Okay.
Yeah, it was created a few years ago when that street got busy. That one became two, one for the left and second for the right.
Aaron?
So you're just saying, Shresh, that you only have a red light for turning right, but going left would be a freebie.
Yeah, free, but with that stop painted.
Right.
Which is what it is today. So you have to wait for the traffic coming from Greers on south and make sure you're safe and then turn.
But wouldn't the people sitting on the left side there, they're seeing a red light, they wouldn't go?
Well,
the rest of the world does on a tight turn. It's a good way.
There are different signages which we have in our city. Sometimes a sign says, give way to pedestrian. Sometimes it says pedestrian should give way to traffic. So that's managed by physical signs, depending on the geometry of the intersection and what's safe.
So you're not suggesting there's a signalised crossing point to the south of Langdon's. It's just you're wanting the crossing point on the south, Greers intersection with Langdon's, not on the north?
Correct.
And is it a signalised crossing point or is it just a free crossing point?
I haven't thought that through. Basically, when Greer is stopped, red, it is safe for pedestrians to cross Greers. Now, whether you need another set of pedestrian permissive lights, traffic engineers can sort that out. It may be required by law. What I have done is timing the process in my mind, not looking at it from a legal framework, which the city council is obliged to do.
Thank you. I understand that.
Yeah.
Traffic implications. It's the pedestrian issue that I'm not quite convinced about.
No, there will be some detail which has to be worked out. I have done it over a few years, not as a traffic engineer.
Bridget.
So Suresh, you made the comment about that you don't feel like the either option one or option two is satisfactory. And a part comes down to you think the solution is quite simple. But would you say that the option that you would like, what was it, option 4A to be looked at, do you think that they have the same standards of safety compared to option 1 and option 2?
Safety where?
Or safety for, say, pedestrians, for coming to, and point around cyclists, for all users of the road and community.
The same level of safety can be achieved. Like we discussed, whether to have a separate pedestrian permissive light and all that. That can be achieved very easily. My idea is whatever you want, do it at that light. And you may need additional phasings and all that, definitely. Don't play with neighboring streets. Don't change them to cul-de-sac. Don't make unnecessary left in, left out and all those things, create complications.
Thanks, Rach. Right, thank you very much.
Thank you, pleasure.
And we'll move on to item 4, which is the report on the Greers Langdons Road traffic lights. Welcome, David.
Right. Yeah, afternoon, Chair and members. My name is David Sang, Project Manager looking after Greers Langdons intersection, and this is Swante, our Senior Engagement Advisor. Swante take over the project after the consultation completed to replace a colleague left the council. And we also got Ben Ferguson, our lead designer from Stendek, sitting behind me. So, next page, please. So after the briefing in September, we briefed the board separately before the consultation. Today, we'd like to give you an update on the consultation and the feedback. And we are also going to talk about the further investigation we did after a request by some members during the briefing. And we're going to update you the changes after consultation and also ask you approval for the preferred staff option. Next page, please. So I'm heading over to Swante, talk about the consultation and the results. Thank you.
Thank you, David. So most of this information is in your report. I'm just running quickly through the highlights, and then we zoom in a bit further onto some of the issues we know you were interested in knowing more about. So just a quick overview on the tactics that were used to alert people that we were consulting on the 2 options. So we did 59 stakeholder emails, leaflet, posters, and submission forms at several community facilities in the area, posters delivered to businesses, as well as signage boards at key traffic points in the area to alert the traffic coming through. We had 2 webinars initially planned. We only held one of them due to relatively low participation numbers, but we got 61 views overall on those 2 webinars. Next one, please. So the next slide just goes a bit more into depth in what we did for resident outreach specifically. So we did 2 types of leaflet drops. One was particularly to those that would be affected by the on-street parking and the changes to that. So they received an early notice of that, inviting them to contact us if they wanted to talk to us. And then we also approximately dropped 700 consultation documents in that area that's highlighted in blue there. So that's particularly those residents along Reynolds Avenue and all the streets across it that would be potentially directly affected by any closure or limiting the access to Reynolds Road, as well as those that are directly along the intersection Lanes Road. If you move on to the next slide, please. So in total, we've heard from 156 submitters. They were mostly individuals, with a few organizations as well. Just a quick breakdown by community board. So the majority of submitters was from Waimaero, followed by Waipapa. And then we had 11% of submitters from other community board areas and a small percentage of submitters from outside Christchurch. Next slide, please. So overall, the community views in terms of safety improvements, the majority clearly thought that an intersection upgrade will improve safety, as you can see there, and that's also detailed in your report. Particularly, the reasons why it would improve safety were around the turning behavior, and that would make things a lot safer, providing safer crossings for pedestrians and cyclists. And we've heard some of those themes through the deputations coming through as well. Reduce large traffic volumes, congestion and wait times, and help improve traffic management and flow. There was some other feedback that the intersection is generally prone to accidents and near misses currently. highlighting the need that something does need to be done. But there were also, and again, we've heard some of that concerns that those upgrades that we were proposing wouldn't stop congestion, but could contribute to further congestion, even in the intersection, or by pushing the traffic onto any of the other roads surrounding the area. So that's, just a quick overview of views overall on safety. If you move on to the next slide, please. So now we're zooming into the options. That is a little small here, but the first graph on the left-hand side shows the overall results. So the majority of all submitters, small majority, preferred option 2, 47%. So that's the cul-de-sac option. And 43 preferred option 1, smaller percentage, other ways to improve the intersection. Now, when we look a bit more in depth, views are indeed quite mixed depending on who we've heard from. So we looked specifically onto submissions we received from the residential area west of Greers Road, so Reynolds and all the roads that go off there, to see what their views were. And as you can see there, in that cohort was a clear preference of option 1 over option 2. And then furthermore, we had asked submitters to let us know how they relate to the intersection. So from those beyond that area that said they were living nearby, it was fairly even in terms of their preference for option 1 and option 2, smaller for other improvements. But where we really see the preference for option 2 coming through is from those that commute through the area or that didn't specify how they were using the intersection, but just say other. So there's certainly a bit of a difference depending on how people use the intersection and how close they are to it. I know you were interested to find out a bit more, and if you click onto the next button, there should another table be coming up. How many people we heard from that were directly neighboring the intersection, so that's sort of 1 to 3 properties down. We looked at that at Reynolds Avenue with 5 properties, and there we only heard from 1 person through the submission process. They preferred option 2. On Greers, we heard from 2 of the direct neighbours. That was a few more properties just because, the stretch is a bit longer into the Reynolds turn at the Langlands turn. So there 2 preferred option 1 and 1 preferred other. And on Langlands Road, we didn't hear from any of the neighbours that were immediately on the intersection, despite them being alerted through flyer drops. If you then move on, we also thought, in addition to this, you might be interested, given that this is a joint community board decision, to just have a quick look on what submitters thought by board. So the dark green is the Waimaero area, their preference on option 1 over option 2. And Waipapa, it's the reverse, smaller numbers of submitters. Yes, so depending on what aspects of where people are from, we look at certainly a mixed picture in terms of preferences. But hopefully that will give you some information to help you in your decision-making process. If you move on to the next slide, please. Then just looking over the overall arguments that submitters highlighted in terms of their preference for option 1, but also the concerns they had for option 1, about option 1. Preferred because it retains access to and from Reynolds. And again, that's reflected. And if we looked at the smaller cohort, that the majority from the area did prefer this option. Then the second point is around that losing the right turn is actually acceptable. Several submitters indicated that they were already not using that route for a right turn, given how difficult and dangerous it was at key times of traffic and other routes being available, and that might be the preferable option for emergency services. Now, just on that point with emergency services, we had engaged early on. And from St. John, we did hear that they did not prefer the cul-de-sac option at Reynolds Avenue. Fence and police felt both options would be workable, and they were in support of upgrades to the intersection in general. So that was their direct feedback. Concerns, and some of it we heard outlined earlier in the deputations. in more depth than I summarized here, but it is around that unsafe turning behavior in and out of Reynolds that might continue either on the left-hand turn or also by having technically still the ability to turn right, even though it might not be allowed. And also potentially needing additional traffic calming measures on surrounding streets to prevent Reynolds as a shortcut. Now, if we look into a bit more depth around the arguments for option 2 on the next slide, please. There, the arguments were presented were particularly around that 3 pedestrian crossings, and allowing pedestrians a direct route was preferable for them and cyclists, and overall encouraging more active modes of transport. It was also felt that it decreases traffic congestion generated from turning in and out of Reynolds, as it currently is. It reduces traffic on Reynolds Avenue overall, including the shortcutting that many people felt was an issue at the moment, and provide safer access to the Bishopdale School using various modes of transport, and improving safety overall by not having 2 intersections close together. I'll let you read the rest of it. The concerns were mostly around increased traffic on streets surrounding Reynolds Avenue. So with that part of the road closed entirely, that would push traffic onto other areas where we might need some additional traffic calming measures to manage that. And possible traffic build up towards Harewood Road, requiring a syncing of the traffic lights. Next slide, please. And then on the other suggestions, we heard from those that didn't prefer either option, the key themes there, and there were a few more by individual submitters, but where there was some commonalities was that a few said a 4-way traffic light, including Reynolds Ave, would be preferable, so it kept the route open in all directions. Another suggestion was a roundabout, then the left in Reynolds option only, which we also heard about in the deputation today. And some submitters generally said that they felt we only need traffic lights, or that no improvements were needed or actually able to make a difference to this intersection. It's the smallest number. Thank you. Moving on to the next slide. Yes, we have a bit more information. Do you want to cover that, David?
Yes, yeah. Because we are going to remove 52 parking spaces. So we counted the submissions of related with parking. So generally there are 7 submissions related with parking. So the first one is a person living on London's, but not in the direct affected area. So very close, few doors away. They concerned about loss of parking. And one submitter from London's in the affected section concerned about loss of parking. So we went to meet with these residents on site, and we discussed a solution. So these residents, they are happy us to remove the grass bump to provide parking. So we went back to have a look, and we think it's workable. So we are providing 2 indented parking outside the property. So currently there are 2 outside the property, so we are maintaining 2 outside the property. So the third one is one person living on Reynolds, but they didn't think it's an issue of lost parking on Reynolds. And the one person, the first one, walking nearby in the industrial area, they are worried about lost parking for the workers. But we think the rest of the parking on the other local roads can offset still enough adequate for the workers to park. And we got 3 submissions from people not living in this area. So 2 concerned, they were not happy with lost parking, that's general comment. And one person don't think the parking loss is a problem. So that's the 7 submitters. Next slide, please. So we did some further investigation after the board briefing, as members asked us to do parking survey and traffic count survey during weekends. And next slide, please. And yes, we did a parking survey. Sorry, there's a big table. I will explain column by column. So on the left-hand side is locations. So generally we divide into 4 parts. So Grace Road from Harewood to London's. And the second one is a Grace Road north of London's. Paprika is a small cul-de-sac north of Bishopdale School. So we use that as a landmark. And London's is from Greers to Auckland. Auckland is also a cul-de-sac. We just use as a landmark, and Reynolds Avenue. So the first column, parking supply, existing means how many on-street parkings there. The second column proposed is how many we're proposing. So we can see on Greers Road from Harewood to London's, we are going to remove all the parking, 8 on either side of the road. And Greers Road, north of London's, we're going to remove 3 on either side of the road. And in London's, that's 14 on either side of the road. And Reynolds, for the left in, left out option, we're going to remove 2. So the second big column, the weekend demand, which was counted on 4th May, it was a Thursday. So average means the surveyor come back at every half-hour interval to see how many cars park there. And average is average number. Parking there is what's the maximum vehicles parked there. So for example, the first row, Greers Road, Harewood to London's, the east side, we've got 1 car parked there. So the peak is 1, so the maximum 1 car parked there. And second row, Greers, London's to Paprika, we maximum got 12 people parked there. So that section covers Bishopdale School drop-in section, pick-up and drop-off section. So maximum during the school pick-up hours, there were 12 people parked there. So the third column is a weekend demand, which was counted on 14th October. It is a Saturday. So we can see that on the weekend, demand is generally lower than the weekdays. And for our parking removal, the parking space we proposing generally can cover the peak demand other than Greers Road from Harewood to London's, because there are always 1 person park over there. But unfortunately, we cannot provide any parking. So that means that person may need to park on the side roads or somewhere else. Yeah, so this table is in the attachment C on page 71. Next page, please. Sorry, this is an even more complex table. We'll explain one by one. So the small map highlighted in blue is a residential 268 residential houses. We found is bounded by Suez Arm in the north, Greers Road on the east, Hested on the west, and Benton on the south. So this big catchment area only have 3 access points. That is Hested Westdale, Greers Reynolds, and Suez Arm Reynolds. So all of these 3 access points are T-type intersections. They're all like either controlled or gateway controlled. So what we are doing now is a Reynolds Greers. We're thinking to do some traffic restriction there. So I think it's really important to know how do people living in this area use these 3 access points. So for the big column, Hested Drysdale, so there are 2 columns there, Hested Road. So we're only interested in traffic coming into this area and out of this area. So the through traffic on Hested, we didn't put in the table. So for the fourth column, left in from Hested means left turn from the north approach of Hested into this blue area. And right turn in is from the south approach, right turn into this area. So Drysdale left out is from the side, from this catchment left out onto Hested. And the first part of the table is a weekday counts during the peak hours, like 7 to 9 a.m. That's AM peak. 1 to 2 is interpeak. 4 to 6 is a PM peak. The second big row is a weekend count. So the weekday count happened on 23rd June. It is a Thursday. The weekend count happened on 14th October. It's a Saturday. So what we can see here, that in the total of the weekday peak, there's a total number, like a 201 for Hested. That means 201 vehicles turn into this area from Hested, and 250 turning out from this area. So we can see Hested Dressdale is the most used access point, and Greers Reynolds is the second where used, and Suez Reynolds is the second where used. And if we look into the data more detailed, so if we have a look at the middle one, Reynolds Avenue, that's what we are doing some changes now, left out and right out. We can see the right out is always really small, even in the peak hours. So 7 to 9, 8 vehicles, 1 to 2, 7 vehicles. That means we think it's really hard people to make a right turn, so very less people are doing that. And we can see the left out is quite high sometimes, but like 52 in 7 to 9. But we think some of the vehicles actually, sorry, let's move on to the next corner, Greers Road, left, right and in. We can see the third row 51, there's a PM peak 4 to 6 PM peak, right and in from Greers onto Reynolds is quite high, 51. However, those are not all the vehicles coming from the north. Actually, some of these vehicles are on Landons. They couldn't make a right turn from Landons and Greers, so they had to make a left turn from Landons and Greers and immediately right turn into Reynolds. They made a U-turn and come back. So those are counted as a right turn in and left turn out. So these two numbers are higher. And for the weekend count, we can see Hested Dressdale still the most used one. However, the numbers drop and Greers London's the number picking up really close to Hested Dressdale. So I think during the weekend, more residents are using Greers Reynolds intersection. So next page, please. So based on this investigation and consultation feedback, some changes for our proposal. So firstly, we changed our recommended option. But previously, when we did the briefing, we said Reynolds cab cycle was a staff preferred option. But after this, we think we are proposing Reynolds left in, left out option as a staff recommended option. It's based on the consultation feedback, especially from residents in that blue hatching area, 268 residents, and also from our observing further investigation. And secondly, we introduced 2 indented parking outside number 453 after engaging with them. And thirdly, the third one is only a paper top change. We changed the green color from the solid green hatching to a block hatching as only road marking related. Okay, next page, please. So here is our preferred option for you to consider. So firstly, we are going to turn the London's Greers three-way stop intersection into a signalized three-way intersection. And thirdly, secondly, we're going to ban the right turn in Reynolds. And thirdly, we're going to provide large median on Greers Road from Harewood to London's by removing the parking on either side of the road. And fourthly, we're going to provide signalized pedestrian crosswalk on London's and Greers Road, but only on the north side. And we are also going to provide cycle facilities approaching the intersection and at the intersection. So currently there are no northbound cycle lane from Harewood to number 4. The second property is south of Reynolds. So we are going to provide the missing part there. So they will have an on-road cycle lane on either side of Greers Road. And we're also going to provide a advanced stop box at the intersection. And we also provide a shared path at London Square intersection to help cyclists and pedestrians to cross the road. And as mentioned previously, we're going to remove 52 parking space. And unfortunately, those two big trees at the intersection have to be removed because of the road widening. And we are going to replace by 4 trees on Reynolds Avenue. Next. So on London's, so we are going to widen the carriageway slightly to fit the extra traffic lane. And we are going to remove 14 parking space on either side of London's. Yeah, I think, and we're sorry for the deep dish approaching to the intersection, we are going to replace by the curved flat channel, the normal one. So yeah, I think that's all the proposal for now. Yeah, do you have any questions?
Right, be some Ellie. So Ellie, Aaron, Victoria.
Just a couple. What are the size and age of the replacement trees? Are they comparable to what's being removed?
Sorry, the trees, yeah.
Yeah, the trees that are being removed,
yeah.
The ones that are going in, they're going to be a couple of 100 meters, they're going to be 4 meters. What are you putting in?
We haven't got to the detail yet. What will be the small tree? Or we haven't.
Just thinking of the time it takes to grow to that.
Yeah, okay.
Also, you heard the suggestion by Sharish earlier. I don't know how the board feels about that, but I'd be very keen to hear what our experts feel about that suggestion. Is that a fair question?
Yeah, I can talk about that. I got a few more slides after this one. Can you show next slide, please? So yeah, so I'm going to talk about this one is a potential issue for signalized both intersections. Because we got some questions why we can't just signalize both intersections. So we just put the disadvantage here. So the advantage will be really easy for access, but the disadvantage is that signalized both will add in extra delay on Grace Road. So if there's a normal, like a 4-way intersection, we can just run 2 faces, either north-south or east-west, east. However, this one is offset one, so that means we cannot give a green time.
No, sorry, can I interrupt?
Yeah,
it's not the same.
No.
Okay.
I don't think anybody has supported this idea.
No. Okay, we got the next one. We're gonna. Yeah, this one is
that was pretty much.
Yeah, actually, there's some like a issue why we cannot have that because we didn't draw up that option, but we can talk about why we have to ban the turning. So, for example, here, if the reason why we suggest to ban the right turn into Reynolds is because of the side constraints. We don't have enough width for a right turn lane. So that means any vehicles turning into Reynolds, they will block the southbound vehicles. So if we say, just put a signal there will be only 1 lane southbound. So that means will be, if any vehicles right turn into Reynolds will be blocked. And also, if there are only 1 southbound lane, that means we cannot split the through movement and the left turn movement by providing a protected pedestrian crossing. But for this arrangement, for our arrangement, we separate the movement. We got a through southbound through lane, a southbound left turn lane. So if there are any pedestrians want to cross London's, so we can hold the left turn lane, but allow the through lane to go ahead without compromise the traffic. Then when the pedestrian cross the road, we can allow the left turn to go ahead. But if there's only 1 shared left turn lane, we cannot achieve that. That's the main concern. And another one is because a free left turn is normally it was popular previously, but now like Waka Kodaki's guidance is only for the rural environment. with a left turn free left turn lane. It's not friendly for the pedestrians because they keep on people left turn. They check the right hand side. They didn't check on the left hand side. That's really normal for driving. So if there are any crosswalks like south of the on the downstream of the left turn slip lane, that would be dangerous.
Sorry, say that again. A left lane slip lane would be dangerous.
If that's a free left speed lane, that would be dangerous for pedestrians.
But even if it was signalised?
Signalised will be less concerned.
I'm sorry, I'm really getting confused here because I'm very interested in what Sharish presented.
Okay.
But I just feel as though we're not actually addressing what Sharish suggested.
Ben, can you?
So I'm familiar with that Corsair Springs Road intersection that Sharish mentioned. It's down by the entrance to the Air Force Museum area coming off Springs Road. It's quite a large road reserve there. There's a lot of sort of trees and paths and sculptures going through there. There's a lot more space there that allows that slip turn lane to be provided with a raised crossing going over that and then a dedicated signalised crossing over the main road. On Langdon's Road here, we're dealing with a standard 20-metre wide road reserve with a light display on the corner. There isn't the space to get that island in there that will divide that left turn lane from the main lane. And we can't actually have the same approach signalised for some lanes and on a stop control for other lanes being part of the same roadway. The approach needs to be under the same control and needs a large splitter island to actually designate a stop control versus a signalised control on that approach.
So the corner, perhaps it's got that little island.
Oh,
you have to have an island.
Yeah, that's right. And I guess the other concern is with having the signalised crossing on that southern side of Langdon's Road over Greers Road, so between the two intersections. The concern with that and why it doesn't feature in options 4A and 4B, so the left in, left out, or the full movements. So that close proximity of the priority intersection to the signalised intersection. And so vehicles turning left out of Reynolds Avenue onto Greers Road, they're on a stop control, they're looking for traffic coming from their right, and as soon as there's a gap, they're going to the left. And maybe not being aware that there's a signalised crosswalk running right at that point for pedestrians. And so
McFadden's.
Yep, so that's why that hasn't been, so that will be desirable to provide in all options, but it just can't be provided safely when that left turn out is from Reynolds Avenue. And in terms of the right turn bans, basically the concern there is to do also with that close proximity of priority control to stop control, signal controlled intersections, but adding into that the 2 lanes of queued traffic that drivers would be trying to find a gap through. So turning into Reynolds Avenue, like the image there shows, the driver might see a gap in the right turn queue traffic, the blue cars, but a vehicle or a cyclist could be coming up the inside and the through lane. And likewise, turning out of Reynolds Avenue, they're looking through 2 lanes of queue traffic to find a gap. And there's just a really high chance of missing somebody.
Okay, thank you for that. One last question. The ramp that's proposed for Reynolds, how noisy is that? This is a residential area, and I can't say how high it is or whatever, but it just seems a bit full on for just a...
It's a standard side road threshold treatment. So they're about 75 to 100 millimetres high.
So it's not your Lincoln Road jobby?
No.
Okay.
It's different type,
Okay, so no, it won't be noisy.
This one has been used in question for some time. It's a standard from the standard. It's not a new one.
Yeah, I appreciate that, David, but that doesn't make it good. But I'm just wondering, so there is no noise for residents?
At the speeds vehicles would go around, there'd be very little noise.
Okay, thank you.
Aaron?
Yeah, why does option 1 not have a 3-way pedestrian crossing?
So that is to do with the driver turning left out of Reynolds Avenue on stop control, looking to the right for traffic, being a priority controlled intersection, and likely not being aware that there is a signalised crossing just to the left, and you get in the gap, shooting the gap, and that crossing being running at that point was because it would be right on the intersection, and it'll push the limit line further back as well.
But on option, because it's the closest, right?
It's the same issue as if you're turning left down McFadden.
But I thought, as a driver, you're not allowed to run people over. You're meant to look.
We try to design that out. So
right. Yeah, I might have changed, but so we don't. Most people that take that intersection would live around there. So unless they're so fit and shouldn't have a license, they would know that when they go around that corner, there's going to be a set of traffic lights there because there was the day before.
Aaron, go to McFadden's. Honestly, have a look at McFadden's. I've been driving through that red lights. I've been driving through it and not realising when it was red. I knew the lights were there, but you just watch that for a bit and it's potentially very dangerous.
And I think there's also there's the being aware of it, and there's also being the heat of the moment when there's
you just want to go on.
Greers roads flowing at the volumes that are coming up there, pressure on to get a gap. And just remembering in that last minute that it's there is a large part of the concern.
Right, okay. And then is it an option to just not do anything to Reynolds?
Yeah, I think that's the one we are showing. Okay, there are some potential risks there.
Just didn't your chart say only about 6 people do that turn a day?
No. Not only 6. We got our numbers here.
It's quite a large left right from Landers into Reynolds.
Yeah.
Quite large, relatively large.
So right in the morning peak 16, interpeak 18, PM peak.
There's a right turners.
Right turn in from Reynolds, Greers into Reynolds.
Right.
And PM peak 51.
That's a lot.
Right. Okay. And there's quite a few at the moment.
They are 2 accidents related with right turn into Reynolds. Conflict with northbound vehicles.
Right.
Yeah.
Over what time period?
It's all happened in 2021.
Either side of that? Well, that's just the only data we've got.
So over a 5-year period, there were those 2 or 3 crashes at Reynolds Avenue.
Right. So 2 over 5 years.
Reported, yeah.
Okay.
Victoria.
Thank you. I heard from one of our submitters, one of our presenters this morning who was on screen, Ulrich, and he was concerned about the traffic flow management and wanted to know about the synchronicity of the intersections. Can you comment on that?
They would be coordinated. This is a much easier corridor to manage than the likes of Lenham Road, being only 2 intersections in relatively close proximity here with Langdons Road and Herwood Road. There's nothing immediately close. And the next one up is Sawers Arms Road, and they would be coordinated. Especially during the peak periods, obviously in the evenings and the off-peak, and they run a little more independently, but certainly during peak periods, they would be coordinated.
I also wanted to pick up on an issue that Anne Scott raised in relation to extending the shared path. It looks like, it's not on that map, but it's on one of the other ones. It looks like outside 451, path narrows because there's a grass verge. You see that 451, and I think that's the photo that Anne was referring to, where she'd asked whether it's possible for that to be changed so that keeps the kids at primary school off the road there, because it's a really narrow path. And she had a great photo in her presentation. I wondered if that's going to be possible. That's a good point.
Yeah, we think how to say. There's some narrow point along this path. It's at 447. So if we say turn to a shared path, it's better to turn the entire length into a shared path. But there are some pinch point. Especially at 447, outside 447 is 2.6 meters, and there are some services box which couldn't see from the plan. There are some box in the way. So actually the usable width is narrower than that. So our concern is if we officially turn to a shared path, probably is under the...
It's not so much about changing it into a shared path as such. It's just obvious that there is a green part outside 451. Here, show that, Simon. And this is the photo that Anne showed us.
Yeah, that's the grass, yes.
Yeah, and I wondered whether that piece of grass can just be changed to concrete that gives a bit more width for some of the kids that are using that space. I think that's the point that Anne was making. It seems quite a simple fix.
So,
indented parking.
Yeah, we're going to indented parking for that.
Yeah. Oh, there it is. No, we're not going to get rid of that, are we? Okay, I had missed that's where that indented parking was.
Yeah.
Okay, I understand that now. The other issue I wanted to raise is this is more for the engagement team around, was there travel survey data for Bishopdale School to give us some indication of how many kids are actually travelling on foot and travelling on bikes?
That is actually probably more for your team.
Whoever's got that information.
Yeah. I'm not sure.
Yeah, sorry,
Not information we would hold.
yeah, there's, we got, travel to school, another device of doing that. But we know that some kids are using the footpaths. It's showing our traffic count data. But we are not sure about other traffic mode.
It's not uncommon for schools to be doing those school travel surveys now. It's surprised that that's not part of this.
It's another program. It's a separate program. Someone's looking at that. So.
That's okay.
Okay. I wonder if we can just go to the next slide, please, for the second part of this. The Langdons Road section. I just wanted to clarify the extent of the shared path on each side. Is it only at the intersection, or is it like along that full length that's shown there?
Only at the intersection.
Okay. And then another question, which we can just stay on that one as well. So it's been discussed a little bit, the movement where someone turns left out of Reynolds and then immediately right into Langdons, which is a reasonably common manoeuvre. Given that exit from Reynolds, is it right on the intersection, and sort of given the way that vehicle needs to move across? Where does this sit in between sort of good practice, acceptable practice, or unacceptable design to allow the potential for that left-right movement?
The desirable for design would be to not allow that left turn-out movement, which is why that cul-de-sac was originally the preferred option, and by the left in only, so option 4C would also would achieve that. So yeah, to the left and left out, obviously coming up following the consultation, rather than being a technical preferred option.
Yeah, in our design report, there's a safe system assessment. So all those option we call the left in, left out, left in only, and concept. All of these are safer than existing setup. And we say the cul-de-sac align with those objectives better, but those objectives doesn't consider the accessibility to those living areas. So we think left in, left out is a good, a balance. We acknowledge it's not as, in terms of safety, it's not as good as a concept, but it's a good balance. Yeah.
And just one more, I wonder if staff could just make a brief comment about why a roundabout is not practical, because I know that came up a little bit in the consultation. I've seen it in social media as well. I might just put a roundabout in.
Yes.
Just, if you could just, for the public record, really just give us a brief explanation about why not.
Yeah, roundabout takes the footprint of a roundabout is quite larger than a normal signalized crossing. That means we have to purchase land from all the adjacent properties, but unfortunately we don't have budget of doing that. So that's why we cannot put a roundabout. Yeah.
Thank you.
Pauline.
Yes. So left in into Reynolds. So that was 4C, isn't it?
Yeah, that's on the attachment.
And you didn't consult on that?
We didn't consult because we thought the difference, if we consult 3 options, the difference will be minor and maybe confused. So we think we take either, so left in, left out, and concept to see how the people is feeling, and we can get a feeling.
So the lady from Spokes, who actually pointed out that it's dangerous to come left out of Reynolds. What's your comment on that for best practice, along with Simon's point about coming out of Reynolds and going over to turn right? Those 2 things, quite dangerous.
Yes, we acknowledge there are some potential issue of having a left out, but I think we can monitor that after construction. So if it's not safe, at least we can close that off, but turn to a left in only. Maybe in the future, if it's really not safe.
No, I don't know. I'm worried about that.
Yeah.
What's the volume of traffic? Do you know the numbers that come out of Reynolds wanting to cross the lane and get over to Langdons? Is it a high number?
Currently, it is because someone they did currently, because people that in terms of network, Sawyer's Northcote is not signalized. Sawyer's Northcote Grace. It's hard for people to make a right turn there. So someone's using this route to access the shopping area.
They want to get down to Northbank.
Yeah, but in the future, that project, as I know, is will come to life soon. But it's not under, it's looked after by my colleague. So they were going to go back to the board to brief you what's the proposal there. So that will be signalized in the future.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. We don't know when that's going to be. But so if we didn't allow them to come out of Reynolds, because I'm kind of favouring for C. If we did not allow them to come out of Reynolds and cross over to Langdons, how would they get to Northlink, those people?
They can only use Harewood, probably.
Harewood,
yeah.
How do they get to Harewood?
They have to make a left turn at Hested.
Sorry? At
Hested Drysdale. So go to the last page.
And come around.
Yeah.
Okay, that's good to know. And then they go, they go left.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. I think Nicola was next and then we'll come to you. Sorry. You got a question too, Jason? Yeah. Okay.
Sorry, I'm going back to option one, given that a lot of the people that are living in the Reynolds Street prefer the the access in and out. And I do realise that you have cited some safety issues when you turn left, and I deal with it every day when I'm turning left out of my children's school on Greers Road, always watching for the cycles that are coming down. And I think that happens at a lot of places. I just would like you to talk me through what the left and left out would look like. Sorry, just what would it look like when I'm turning left? Is there are there any? Is there a left arrow only? What would it look like? And when I'm turning left into Reynolds, and then if I want to leave Reynolds turning left, is it just the bumps, or are there going to be any signs? I just want to know.
Yeah, we will have a keep left sign, and on the opposite side, we'll have no right turn sign.
You haven't, right.
And the side road will be like a slightly raised up, a really gentle curve, so something like that, yeah. We'll have a speed island in the middle.
And so you're hoping that will mitigate when people are turning left, that they'll, will slow them down, and hopefully they'll look for this coming up.
Yes, yeah.
Thank you.
Victoria.
I just had a supplementary following up from Pauline and Simon on the left out of Reynolds into Greers. On the table, can you just highlight for me what I'm trying to figure out what the numbers are, people who are coming out of Reynolds into Greers who are using that left?
Coming out from Reynolds onto Greers, that's the left and out.
Out of Reynolds into Greers.
Yeah, that's 52.
52.
21, 48, yeah.
Okay, so it's quite high. So it's used by the locals in and around that space quite a lot. And it's influenced by choosing the left in and left out as opposed to just the left in. Okay.
But it was noted in a number of those were between 8:30 and 9 and maybe related to school.
The intensity really did pick up after 8:30, 8:45.
Yeah.
And over the weekend.
And so if they couldn't do that, they'd go around to Harewood Road.
Yes.
And on that same point then, picking up further on Simon and Pauline, those who are coming out of left and trying to turn right into Greers, did you see that in your traffic modelling and traffic count? Is that reflected anywhere in this data, or do people just don't do it because it's too difficult?
So that's the left out of Reynolds Ave to make the right.
It's
certainly, we've observed that on site, certainly. We're standing on the side of the road, you see people coming out and doing the left-right to get into Langdons Road.
Were they at low traffic peak times, or were they in high traffic?
Certainly seen it in the high traffic times. It's a bit more difficult to do it, but certainly happens.
So from a safety perspective, where are you at with it? Not ideal.
Not ideal.
It does happen.
Yeah.
Jason.
But not illegal.
Not illegal.
Yeah. Something that a lot of submitters raised was that if you cul-de-sac that you're gonna end up with a lot more traffic diverting down Bainton, and even with the left in, left out, you may end up with more traffic diverting down Bainton anyway. As a part of this project, would we look at any calming measures or anything to try and offset that as a part of this project, or is that not within the scope in terms of that overflow?
So currently, we're not proposing anything on Bainton. We think in the future, the through traffic on Bainton should be lower, because currently someone from London couldn't make a right turn. They left turn onto Greece, either use Reynolds or use Bainton. But if London's signalized, people can make a right turn. So should have less people using Bainton, unless those people living on Reynolds, they couldn't right turn from the north. So they probably will use Bainton to go around to get back into Reynolds from another end. But we think that it shouldn't be very high. We'll keep on monitoring the number to see if it's necessary for the traffic coming. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, I just want to give you guys thank you guys for the amount of feedback that you managed to get on this consultation, and also there was a couple of graphics in there which were really good, which was the split of where the residents were living versus the feedback, and also the parking one, especially between Kearwood and Langdon's there to see, because there was quite a lot being removed there that it wasn't being super highly utilised. So that's been really useful feedback to get. Thank you for that.
Thanks, Jason. Bridget.
Yeah. See what I was going to say, which was to commend the team on the amazing engagement. It looks like a lot of work has gone into it, especially just highlighting that graphic that Jason pointed out around the split that shows Reynolds Street, that, you know, because that will be the cul-de-sac, that will be the residents living on that street are going to be most affected. So it was great to separate that and to see that there clearly is a preference for option one from the residents that are going to be impacted if it was to be a cul-de-sac. And also I just want to acknowledge as well, Fiona made a comment at the start just around like travel patterns, and I do feel like this is an extensive example of considering those travel patterns. I mean, it's hectic, but clearly you can see what the patterns look like. So that's great, and it's great to have the information so we can consider that. One of the things I did want to ask though is, and Nicola kind of touched on it with that question around what would it look like, let's just say if we had option one, for example, and you couldn't make a right-hand turn, that would be an illegal move. I'm assuming there'd be no right turn.
No right turn facing Reynolds, yeah.
What could we do to actually strengthen the safety of that and really reduce any opportunity for car users to not do a right-hand turn? Like, I'm guessing at the start it could be police enforcement, you know, like what should
they haven't got the forces.
I know that, but I know that
I know you know it.
Yeah, and I'm assuming in the detailed design phase we could get to that. But is the I'm asking now, what could that look like?
So ideally, it should have a raised media, but unfortunately, we don't have enough space, so we cannot put a raised media on the south approach of Greece. So alternatively, we use a triangle island, split island, to encourage people only to left turn only. I think that's because of the constraint.
About like bollards.
Well, the end of Westminster Street's got crappy plastic bollard things.
Yeah,
right?
bollards will be run over. Will need to be replaced from time to time. So it's not very supported by our maintenance team.
Yeah, that's right. There's somewhat rollers in that.
I guess the comment that we're trying to get to, and maybe it's something
depending on what direction you go in and what the resolution will look like, is that a right turn, no sign, you know what I mean? That's good, but that's what else could we look like? What else could it look like to really strengthen the strong discouragement to go right? The other one I wanted to ask, and I wonder if you have kind of said this already, but I just wanted to flush this out a bit. When Suresh had his deputation, he made the point saying, if there were to be traffic lights implemented, then you don't need to consider the other impacts that will happen on the other streets. What's your response to that?
I think by putting signals in that close to that priority controlled intersection, it does create other issues that need to be mitigated. For example, by the turn restrictions due to the closely spaced intersections. If the signals go in without mitigating those impacts, then some of the issues that we're trying to address, like safety, may actually be worsened.
Yeah. Okay. So it's needed.
Yeah. Yes. Okay. Short answer, yes.
Cool. Thank you.
Aaron.
You just on the removal of parking, especially ones like Greers Road, like there's the one. There's one building like right towards the end, so it's 2 doors from the end of the yellow lines. But the other people going the other way from Langdon's right through to Herewood Road. There is no on-street parking anywhere, like for deliveries, for Meals on Wheels. Like if you walk 3 blocks, Meals on Wheels, they'll be cold. Stuff like that.
Yeah, they'd have to drive up the driveway to drop that off.
So, and shared driveways, people might get a little angry. Yeah. And we've got a district plan encouraging intensification.
I mean, it's along the drop-off the store, the drop-off, the link quick then.
Right, so how do we explain it to if you've got a couple of elderly people, 3 that share a driveway, and one has to come around and stays for an hour or 2, because what happens?
Yeah, well, we've seen very low parking demand on those spaces on Greers Road. This is sort of like the surveys throughout the day and also anecdotal observations. So we didn't hear from many people on that section. So it's not a problem that's actually been raised to us through anything that we've heard or seen on this project to this particular location.
Yeah, right. Okay. So
that's the one the residents called us. We want to meet on them outside with them. There's their demand. They mentioned that about deliver and friends coming to visit us. So those elderly visitors.
So we know all of those people are happy to have no parking for a couple of 3 blocks.
From the parking survey and consultation feedback, it looks like the parking can offset the demand.
Okay, so they're all happy. We're not going to get any surprises once it's installed. They go, "I wouldn't even know this was happening." The usual.
Well, I think we've already seen what the engagement letters were and when to whether.
Yeah, some people don't clear their letter boxes.
Well, that's their lookout then, isn't it?
Their own fault for living on a main road.
Yeah.
Teach them.
Victoria.
Yep, another supplementary just on following on from that issue raised by Aaron. In some traffic projects, transport projects, you actually do some door knocking in the residential areas. Was it done or was it only a leaflet drop?
We did before the consultation.
Just door knocking.
Door knocking on remotes, but unfortunately not many people at home. We knocked
That's right.
They work in
the 5 person replied. Yeah.
Thank you.
Jason?
Yeah, I'd just like to suggest we've had a lot of good feedback from everybody, and I think the local residents in that catchment of Reynolds was a 25-8 in favour of option 1. So I'd just like to propose, unless anyone has any other burning questions that I'd like to move.
I've just got a couple more questions. Yeah, I was holding off to everyone else.
Sorry,
a lot of them did
want to go last because I have one as well.
I'll ask mine and then we'll come.
Sure, yeah. Right. So we do consider it has been moved. So
well, Jason's moved it, yeah.
Cool, and I'll be happy to second.
Okay. How contingent is the success of this project on those signals happening at the Sawyers Greers North Kip intersection? You've said in this report about how the Sawyers Arms Greers North Kip project will reduce traffic volumes on Greers, and until that happens, this could slow traffic flow on Greers. So if the one further down weren't to happen, would you still be recommending this same?
Because this one looks like this one happened first.
Yeah.
So ideally, that one should happen first, but in terms of program, this one happening first. So
yeah,
before Greer's Northcote tourism be signalized, we would have more southbound traffic. Is that right? On Greer's.
Yeah.
So once that one's signalized, more vehicle will right turn onto Spurs.
Yeah.
So we'll have less traffic. So I would say
need this one.
yeah. we after build probably was tough. So getting later should be better because we will have less traffic southbound on Greer's.
So until that one happens at Sawyer's Arms,
yeah,
this will slow the traffic on Greer's, the amount of traffic that is using.
Yeah, they will the traffic. Sorry, westbound will right turn from that intersection onto Sawyer's.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll have less southbound.
Yeah. And has any modelling shown a decrease of traffic heading east along Langdon's Road towards the mall? With putting these lights in at the Greer's Road end, will that encourage people to use Greer's Road instead of heading the other way?
I think so. Yeah, I think currently a lot of people, they couldn't make a right turn from Greer's onto London, so that's why they choose eastbound rather than westbound. So traffic count shows on the east side of London's, the traffic increase is more than the west side after the opening of North Link.
Okay. Ellie? No? Right.
Quick one.
Simon and Victoria.
Section 8 of the staff report shows that there's a fairly significant budget shortfall for this project. Just wondering if you can comment on what you would see as the process to get this project fully funded, or if we do it with one or the other designs today.
Yeah, I think in the current long-term plan review, our senior staff is going to put in more budget, applying and ask council for approval. And meanwhile, in the detailed design stage, we are going to have a look how we can do some cost saving. And it's going to be, the construction is going to be cooperating with other projects. So we can see how we can reduce the cost. Yeah.
Thank you.
Sure.
So I just wanted to come back to the Northcote, Sawyer's, Greer's intersection. So that's dropped out of the long-term plan completely now, project 243.
Okay.
Slightly.
So I didn't know that because when I talked to my colleague, they said that they're going to come back to you board later for give you at least a briefing or any updates. That's what I heard. Sorry, sorry for the confusion. I can double check with them because
I think it's worth a conversation because would actually fits in with the board priorities of that Papanui area, Northcote area, to progress that because it is part of this whole issue and the safety issues along that whole Northcote corridor. So
the school's gone in the supermarket.
So I think you can expect that we would like to follow that up as a board, please, on that particular project, because I think that these are all related along that corridor, which is a major freight route right from QE2 all the way around Northcote and right the way through and out to the other side of town. So the question, I don't know what the question is. It's just highlighting that point, make everybody aware that actually it's Northcote intersection there with Sawyer's is not soon.
Yeah, I think that as you raised it, you know, how interrelated are those, and if Northcote, Sawyer's, Greer's was done, would this be so important? Or would that have a mitigating effect on this intersection?
It's still because people heading to the shopping mall still need to use this intersection because
but if there's less traffic on Greer's Road.
Still got relatively high volumes.
Relatively high.
Still relatively.
Yeah, because North Link, they don't have access through Zone.
And so just one more. So the North Sawyers Greers is also really necessary to have treatment, and it's been waiting for a long, long time.
Yeah.
So why is this one prioritised over that one?
You know, it's not a kind of how to say, it's kind of a programming. Because we also talk about other projects happening in this adjacent area, like the West Wings. We are thinking about like a TMP in the future. The signalized grasslands might provide some opportunity for the TMP in the future, so they can use this as alternative. Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
Okay. Right. So we have had it moved by Jason, seconded by David. That is the staff recommendation for option 1, which is the left in, left out.
And I'd like to foreshadow 4C if that doesn't pass.
Okay. So we will.
Sorry. Can we also Jason moving within that option? Can we add a resolution to that?
Yes, if Jason and David are happy with it, you can. Do you have some wording?
It would just be nice to include something when it gets to the next phase of the detail engineering to investigate further possibilities of any potential parking to be included. And also
more buildings.
Pardon?
More buildings.
More buildings, yeah. And also explore what other design features can be included to strengthen the discouragement of right turning, i.e. built-in bollards, something like that.
You happy with that, Jason and David?
Yeah. Did I also, sorry.
Just clarifying, is that any particular right turn movement?
That is the
Greers into Reynolds.
Yes, Greers into Reynolds. So it's
And that would stop the right turn out of Reynolds into Greers.
Correct, yeah. To try and strengthen the safety for cyclists.
Can I put ask for a noting provision that the board notes, the boards note the relationship between this intersection and the North Greers.
Yeah. Sawyers Arms. That's project 243.
Project 243. Thank you.
That's a short project number.
MR. Probably could have been around.
Right, just one at a time, guys.
With what Bridget just said as well, I know there was an issue raised about the width of Reynolds, but I just showed Bridget a picture of the end of Westminster and Rutland. It's not a hellishly wide street, and it has almost exactly the same kind of treatment that I think you're talking about. And I'm just wondering whether staff could maybe look at that as something that could be replicated there. Thanks.
Okay. So Aidan is moving up here.
Yeah. So there's not only the bollards there, the plastic crappy bollards, but there's also a triangular slight build out. Now I know you said it was very narrow, but as I said, I'm no expert, but Westminster is not that wide.
Yeah. So the option plans for both option 1 and for option 1, left and left out, does have that triangular island shown on it.
Oh, it does already.
It does already.
Well,
so yeah,
that's the same thing, Bridget. Yeah.
That doesn't have any indication on the plastic bollards. Are they what you wanted included, looked at as well, or?
Yeah, but some of the nice ones like they used on Rolleston Ave would be better.
They're all due stuff.
Right, so we'll move on to debate. If anyone would like to speak before we vote on this one, Jason?
Yeah, I just again want to reiterate the information provided from staff. I think has covered off a lot of good stuff, and it's interesting to have to balance all the different stakeholder views, being the people commuting through and trying to maintain the safety of them versus the residents, the services. Yes, so I think we've had a pretty good conversation around all of those subjects. I think we've covered off most of the key areas.
Thanks, Jason. Anyone else? Pauline?
Yeah, I am still concerned with that left out from Reynolds, crossing the cycleway, not seeing cyclists, and also navigating that, crossing that lane to get to the right-hand lane, turn right into Langdons. It's just, I think, a recipe for a little bit of a disaster there. So I am relying on staff to monitor that, and as you said, that you'll step in and make a change if something untoward happens there. So I'm a bit uncomfortable about that. So I will vote against this option because I'm supporting 4C. And just
Pauline? Victoria.
Thank you. Thank you to the staff. I think it's been quite good engagement around it and a really comprehensive analysis of the results and some changes made as a result of that. I think it's really important to give priority to the local voice. And when you look at combining the numbers in the residential areas of those who live, those who work nearby, and those who are frequenting the schools and the shopping precinct, then the balance is clearly in favour of option 1. And I accept that there has some concerns with that left turn out of Reynolds and then the right turn into Langdons. Thank you, Bridget, for recommending the addition with that resolution about looking at some of those safety issues around there. Happy that you can explore some further mitigation aspects. I was surprised there weren't more engagement around the parking, but it appears that it wasn't a big issue with those who did engage and submit. And clearly the parking demand appears to be quite low. So that doesn't overly concern me on this particular occasion. I'll be happy to support option 1. Thank you.
Thanks, Victoria. Bridget.
Yes, echoing Jason and Victoria's comments, just around the same things as option 1, and just want to again stress the point that obviously a lot of engagement and consultation has happened through this process. And one of the things I just want to stress as well is the face-to-face consultation that took place with emergency services, and how there was concern around option 2 with the accessibility, and there's been comment made around equitable solutions. So I think that's something that comes to mind when I think about safety, accessibility, and also it's one of the cheaper options of the 2 as well. So supporting option 1 with those amendments.
I'll jump in here. I'll also be supporting option 1. I did have reservations about the turning left out of Reynolds, but yeah, I'm okay with it being monitored. Part of the reason I am happy to leave that left out is because I don't feel comfortable with sending a lot of those residents to Sawyers Arms Road when that other intersection is so bad. So yeah, and I'm definitely supportive of the extra things we've added in there about the stopping right turning and somehow making drivers turning left, making them aware that they need to look for cyclists. I think would be helpful. Anyone else? Simon.
Thank you. My first comment is I think there's something missing in the toolkit we have as elected members, and I really would have liked to have seen another step in the process in between the submission findings being available to us and a decision-making meeting. There's a lot of complexities in this, and there's the weighing up of access out of Reynolds versus safety on Breers. And I don't think we have a tool like that at the moment. I just want to flag that really there's a piece of our participatory democracy I think we could strengthen there. It's something that would involve perhaps some residents as well as ourselves and subject matter experts. I really will be happy to see extra safety in this area, especially for pedestrians, for the children attending a local school, as well as for cyclists. Do note the delays that have been mentioned around traffic on Breers Road, the fact that's noted in the report that we could see increased southbound traffic on Robson Ave due to people seeking to avoid delays on Breers Road. And yeah, I share the concerns that have been raised around the timing that it might take to see the Breers Northcote Sawyers intersection upgraded. It's a project that seems to be constantly pushed out, and we're making this decision today ahead of the long-term plan decision-making around transport projects citywide, including that one. I do note too, though, that if we do support option 1, and if it is supported at council, that doesn't necessarily preclude making Reynolds a cul-de-sac later. So I know there's been a lot of demand for a long time from the Papanui community for improved safety and better ability to make turns at this intersection. So on the basis that option 1 is better than what we've got and doesn't necessarily rule out moving more towards the cul-de-sac option in the future, I will support option 1 today.
Just very, very quickly, I'm not even going to go on. Just want to say that we've learned a lot in our area, right? So there's no left in, no left out, rights, lefts, all along Cranford Street. We've got the same thing happening at the end of Westminster with the raised area and the bollards. So I am a little surprised that we kind of don't bring these examples to this decision-making meeting of where it's already been applied and is working. I think that would help us as elected members to be able to see that already working well. So if you are in the area, have a look down Cranford, left, right, and Westminster. These things are in place there.
Oh, make a point of visiting.
Well, that's right.
Thanks, Ellie. Anyone else? No? Jason, did you want to add anything? No? Okay, in that case, we'll put that motion. All those in favour?
Aye.
Against? Lynn and Aaron, is that against? Right.
Got that recorded?
Noted? Recorded?
I'm not worried.
No. Okay. Right, in that case, we will finish with our karakia. Great. Close the meeting. Thank you very much, everyone.
Well done.
Great.
Well, cheers. Great to see you in it.
Simon and that Norfolk, Emma and I met with